Hi, this is Alex Copey or Gothic Fitness on Instagram. And if you are a follower of mine on Instagram already, you probably saw my Instagram story or some of my posts talking about possibly making a YouTube channel. So here we are, my first YouTube video. I am actually extremely new to YouTube as a whole. I've done some watched YouTube videos before, obviously, but I had never had an account or had any subscriptions to any specific channels. And as of right now, I am finally have an account. I follow 4 different channels on YouTube, and I figured why not start my own channel. So that's what this is. Basically what I'm trying to do with this channel is basically the same thing I'm doing on Instagram, and I will explain a little bit more about that here as we're talking. But for my first video, I decided that I would just tell you a little bit about myself, where my fitness journey started, and where we're at now, and where I'm planning on going with it. So everything kind of starts back from when I was in middle school or high school. I was always a super big nerd. I was in band class, I was in all of the art classes that you could possibly take, and I was on the high school robotics team. I loved those things then, and I still love those things now. I'm still a super big nerd, love video games, love comic books. Me and my husband both do cosplay and go to a couple of conventions every year. So that's something that's still really, really important to me. But at the time, what I didn't realize is how those sedentary activities were setting me up for failure in the future. While I was in high school and middle school, every time I thought about sports or athletics or even working out, it always to me was that's something that the popular kids do, that's something that the kids that I don't get along with do. Every time I tried to join an activity, I always felt like I wasn't very good at it. I tried to do track at one point in time, and I just was the worst. I sucked so bad, and so that was very short-lived. I did powder puff football when I was in high school because a couple of my girlfriends did it, and I had a blast doing that. But unfortunately, that was a very short period of time. It was only for our homecoming season, so it wasn't something that I could really continue on through the rest of my high school career. So I kept my life in these sedentary hobbies. I grew up, became a tattooer. Well, actually went to art school, which again, very sedentary. And if anybody knows anything about college, freshman 15 or 20 or 30 or whatever, and doing all of those things, drinking too much, eating fast food, staying up late. College is the least healthy thing that you can do for yourself, and if you manage to do it in a healthy way, I applaud you, because it is extremely difficult. So during that time in college, that was the first. I was never a very thin person, and we'll talk more about that in other videos, but I was never very thin. I never felt pretty or skinny or attractive. I was always very self-conscious. I would never wear 2-piece bathing suits. I always wore a 1-piece or a tankini that covered my stomach, and that was just kind of how I lived my life. And I felt like I was normal sized, instead of super skinny or model thin. I just felt like I was normal, but I was still self-conscious of that normal. But I wasn't concerned with my health at this point in time. It was only based on my looks. So once I got into college, and then especially after I got married, I started to put on a significant amount of weight. So just to keep in mind whenever I talk about this stuff, and I'll try to remind people of this all the time, everybody's different, everybody's bodies are different, so don't compare yourself directly to me or to anybody, and especially keep in mind size differentials. I'm very short. I'm actually only 5'2", and so at the time when I was in high school, early college age, I was about 130 pounds. Which at the time I felt like I needed to be 100. I felt like if I was 100 pounds, then I would be great, and I would wear 00 jeans and everything would be wonderful in my life. But I kind of just came to the conclusion that that was not going to happen for me, and I was fine with that, I guess. So I went through college, weighed 130 pounds. As I progressed through college, especially my second or my senior year and then my super senior year, I was actually engaged. I was planning a wedding. I was very stressed. I was doing finals. I was trying to apply to graduate, all of this different stuff, and I ended up gaining a lot more weight. So I went from about 130 to 150, and before my wedding. So at my wedding, I weighed 150 pounds. And I remember knowing happen that I weighed more, but I was still okay with it. I felt beautiful on my wedding day. I felt confident. I felt comfortable. I wasn't super concerned. Like, it was fine. After I got married, though, my husband is an amazing cook. He does all the cooking in my house. He I don't cook at all, really. I'm trying to get better about that. But I started eating all the food that he was providing me. It was we were married my first senior year, so I had one more year after that to finish up some things, and I ended up eating, like, basically I'd wake up, I would go through the McDonald's drive-thru, I'd get McDonald's breakfast, I would go to school, I would eat Taco Bell, I would go to my job, and I would eat like candy bar and gas station pop or whatever, and then I would go home, and my husband, who is amazing, would have a huge plate of spaghetti waiting for me, and I drink a full big glass of milk, and we'll talk about that kind of diet routine in more extent in a different video, but and then I was also starting birth control at the time. So the combination of the birth control, of having a pretty sedentary diet, because I was literally just in school and I was driving a lot, and then eating this lifestyle of food really caused me to gain more weight. And so I remember it was my sister's wedding, and I don't know why, but I just decided to weigh myself, and I weighed myself, and I weighed 180 pounds. So for somebody who's 5'2", 180 pounds, like, that's pushing it, that's getting up there. And that was the first time I was actually concerned about my weight. Like, not from like a how I look perspective, but like, oh shit, this might be bad for my health. So I remember weighing myself, and I remember looking at myself on the day of my sister's wedding in my wedding dress, especially, or bridesmaid's dress, compared to all the other bridesmaids, and being like not happy, like knowing that this was bad. And I remember having like super bad anxiety getting my pictures taken for the wedding photos, and me and my sister got these beautiful pictures taken, like, of just the two of us and stuff. And my sister is a dietitian, and she is like, well, she used to be like this big. Now she's like, she's gonna watch this video and be mad at me. Now she has beautiful curves. She has more voluptuous hips, but she's still a very tiny, fit, healthy person. So in comparison to her, I felt very insecure and very uncomfortable, really, for the first time to that level. Like, that was where I knew something was not right. So, and around that same time, I can't remember exactly what happened in the timeline of things, but my grandma had hip replacement surgery. And I'll probably do a separate video about that as well, but the hip replacement surgery, the first one went really well, and then she was getting the second one done a few months later, and we got a call that all of her organs were shutting down, and that we probably needed to come to Pennsylvania because they didn't know what was going to happen. So me and my mom drove all the way to Pennsylvania to see her, because we didn't know if she was going to make it. And luckily they were able to turn things around and figure out how to get her back on track, and she is happy and healthy today, and she is actually doing really, really good, and like has lost a lot of weight herself, and looks amazing. But that really got me thinking as well, like, I don't want to get to the point in my life when I'm as old as my grandmother and I need surgery, and I have a higher risk of something going wrong because of my health. And then my grandpa is also diabetic, and he just recently had to have a part of his foot removed because he had a wound on his foot that wouldn't heal in relation to his diabetes. So all of these kind of health things that were happening all at once, like, really got me thinking, like, I need to do something about this. But going back to how my mentality when I was in high school, like, working out, being like kind of like the gym type of person, like a fitness type of person, that didn't really vibe with my aesthetic very well. And being an artist, you should know that aesthetic is very important. So I had to come up with a way that I was going to make this all work. So for me, in addition to my physical health getting worse, my mental health was also getting worse. I've always had depression and generalized anxiety since I was about like 7th grade-ish age, and it was getting a lot worse and a lot more severe. And I was also working like 2 different jobs so at the time, and had a lot of different things going on. And so it was a thing where my my brain was like always sick, my body always wasn't feeling good, and then like my soul was just like constantly like crushed because I had all this stuff going on and I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. So I started doing some research and started looking into different health things and health accounts and different health practices and stuff. And basically what I came up with after, especially, which we'll talk about this again more later in different videos, but after succeeding a little bit and then failing a lot and succeeding a little bit and failing a lot, I realized that it really takes a health of both your, not only your body, but also your spiritual health and your mental health. Mental health and spiritual health are just as important as your physical health, and I try to talk about with anybody I talk about health with how those three things need to be in balance, because if your mental health is up here but your physical health's down here, it's going to start dragging that mental health down. And same thing, if like your mental health and your physical health are up here but your spiritual health is down here, then eventually that's going to start taking those guys down as well. So really trying to keep a good balance of those three things in your life and not exerting yourself too much in one particular area, and trying to keep a good balance in your life is the most important thing. So with all of that wrapped up, I was thinking when I went to start this Instagram account, like, what is going to make me different than all the other fitness accounts? Like, why should I even make an account if there's all these other fitness accounts? So the big thing for me that I think the reason that I wanted to make an account, now the reason that I'm making this YouTube channel, is that as you can tell, I have tattoos and I've got piercings, and I am just not, I think, your typical fitness model. I'm not your typical fitness influencer. I don't fit into that same kind of bubble of like athleticism or fitness or whatever that most fitness models, fitness influencers, whatever you call them, fit into. And for me, that was a big reason that kept me out of fitness for a very long time, because I was like, those people in those magazines, whatever, don't look like me. I don't relate to them. So what I wanted to do is kind of be a influence for like alternative people to get fit, and the fact that you can still like love art and music and nerdy stuff and board games and be fit, that it's not a one or the other type of deal. You can find ways to balance all of those things in your life. I'm actually a tattoo artist, so that's another huge influence in my life. But being a tattoo artist, you are very sedentary for your job. So I could have just sat there and continued my life and kept getting less and less healthy as time went, living in my sedentary job, eating the foods I was eating at the time, and just not getting any better. But instead I decided to make a lifestyle change in order to improve my health dramatically, and just be a healthier, happier person. So and a lot of the people that I've encountered who are like the more sensitive, creative, whatever you want to call them, types, tend to be the people that have mental health issues. Now, that's not an exclusive across the board statement, but in my experience from talking to different people, when you have like a more empathetic, empath type of personality, I think that those mental health issues can tend to be a little bit more common. And so I wanted people that have the same kind of personality as me and have the same kind of mentality as me, be able to take care of themselves from all aspects of their health, and not just focus on one thing, or not feel like they're never gonna be healthy because they can't control their mental health or their physical health. So with all that being said, what I'm going to try to do is make a couple YouTube videos. I would like to try to post one a week. We'll see how that goes, but this is going to be my first one. It's going to be my intro one, and I'm going to basically talk about different topics, different parts of my life, hopefully inspire you guys. Also, if you don't follow my Instagram, it's at Goth, Gothicc for Gothicc, and then fitness. So again, that's at Gothicc fitness. And if you follow me on Instagram, you can either DM me or you can comment on my posts, and you can let me know if there is a topic or a video or something that you want me to cover, if there's something that you're interested in. Eventually, as I hopefully gain a little bit more followers, we will, I'll do like a question and answer, and then maybe take some of the question and answers and make a video out of it. But yeah, this is like the beginning of this, and we'll see what happens with it. I'm excited to share my story with you guys and to hopefully encourage you guys. That's the biggest thing for me, is that once I started this journey, I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, like, I just want to tell you like what an impact you've made on my life, because I didn't think I could work out, and I saw you working out every day, and that made me motivated to make a change in my life. So that's basically what I want to do, is I want to be all inclusive and all welcoming and all of that, and try to inspire and commune as much people as possible in order to create people that will live a longer, healthier, happier life, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. So that's it for my YouTube video, my first one. Woo. We will, I'm gonna think of like some cool catchphrase that I can say at the end. I haven't thought of anything yet, so we'll work on that. If you have any ideas, send me a DM. And besides that, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys.